2 weeks is all you have to rank up before the end of Season 12, so here's our tier list for the final patch of this Season 12-21. Next patch will be pre-season with all the new changes and items and the return of the Chemtech Dragon, so everything's going to be completely different again before you know it. This patch is a very small one though, with barely any changes, so let's see if there's any buffs or nerfs that do make any differences, and aside from that, let's just check out our champion tiers in comparison to last week's update. We're going to get straight into the video and start off with the top lane as usual. And in the S tier we have Singed, Poppy, Shen, Sejuani, Maud, Darius, Olaf, Nasus, Ornn and Wukong. Yes, Wukong makes his way back up to the S tier and Camille moves down into A. Maokai and Lilia move down from A to B and Kled moves up from B to A. So the newest tank champion in the top lane, K'Sante, is going to join the Rift this week. He feels like a bit of a brawler version of Yasuo, with those Q charges and lots of mobility. He has loads of cool stuff in his kit, but basically he is just a get stuck in, tank as much damage as possible, and flip people around and stun them as often as he can too. We have guides, matchups, counters, combos and everything else already on our website for this champion. And we also have a full beginner's guide for this champion coming tomorrow on our YouTube channel, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. We aren't going to place K'Sante in any tiers just yet because we need to see how he does when he hits the live servers. He was actually a bit underwhelming when he first hit the PvE, but now he's had a few buffs and he's really starting to find his mojo. He is a really fun champion to play. We've had loads of fun experimenting and testing with him on those PvE servers, so hopefully we'll have everything you need to know to help get you started when looking to play him. One champion we do know what tier he's in though is Olaf, and this guy is still in that S tier and has been for quite a while now. Olaf's win rate is a bit of a joke though, to be honest. He is winning so many games at so many ranks, and it's quite obvious to say why. Olaf is one of the most terrorizing top laners to play against at the moment. His snowball potential is nuts, and alongside his early game damage, it's really often and easy for him to actually get ahead in the lane phase. It's really that ultimate alongside Ghost that just makes him so hard to shut down though. Every other champion in the game, you can just CC them when they're a bit fed, and you can take them down with your teammates. Olaf on the other hand, he can just 1v5 you, and if you don't have any peeling or escaping abilities to get away from him, he's probably just going to mow you down like a lawnmower. On the flip side to Olaf, someone a bit more consistent but is also doing really well in that S tier is Ornn. If you've been watching Worlds, you'll see just how popular and strong this champion is at the moment, and he is also winning so many games at so many different ranks. Ornn is one of the most consistent top laners in the game that you can play at the moment. He has so much to offer, he has fantastic gank setup, really good scaling, and his engaging and team fighting is just absolutely awesome. If you do enjoy that tanking, initiating, engaging playstyle, then you should definitely be playing this champion. Well, let's move down into the jungle now, and in the god tier we still have the one and only Fiddlesticks. But this may be the last patch he stays in this tier, as the jungle changes could completely change that for him. In the S tier though, we still have Bel'Veth despite her nerfs, Mordekaiser, Udyr, Echo, Rammus, Volibear and Zac. Xin Zhao is going to move up from C to B following some buffs this week too, and Kayn moves down from A to B. Amumu also moves down from S to A. Mordekaiser jungle is still one of the most underrated picks in the entire game, and we've actually had him in our S tier for such a long time in the jungle now, despite his play rate and his popularity still not being quite on par with the other S tier junglers. Honestly though, when you realise just how strong this champion is, hopefully you guys can understand just why you should be playing it. Mordekaiser jungle is very simple to play, he clears really easily, he has actually much better ganks than you may think, and then once he gets his ultimate, he gets a few items, becomes a bit tanky, he's going to roam around the map forcing enemies into duels and stealing away objectives like they're going out of fashion. Mordekaiser is the ultimate raid boss once he gets fit, and it's so hard to kill him because all he's got to do is press that ultimate, and if you don't have QSS, you can't beat him. We all know just how strong Mordekaiser can be in that top lane, but trust me, you should definitely try it in the jungle if you haven't already. It's still really good and really underrated. Another somewhat underlooked champion is actually going to be Volibear. Now you may think surely not, everyone knows this guy's strong. Well, some people still don't realise. He was so strong for such a long time before he got nerfed, and then when he did get nerfed, everybody just completely forgot about him. I don't know, maybe they were just a bit bored because he was a bit broken for quite a while. But if you haven't played him for a while, you definitely need to revisit him. He's still incredibly strong, and his win rate right now at the majority of ranks, especially around Plat and Diamond, is really high. Not quite as high though as Rammus, who's probably historically the best low elo jungler you can play. Rammus is just so punishing to play against with that map mobility and crazy CC. And what are you going to do when he spins into your lane, ults on top of you and locks you down, and all you're going to do is kill yourself in 3 or 4 auto attacks? If you haven't got cleanse, you haven't got mobility, or you just don't have your flash available, there's nothing you can do when this guy comes charging towards you. And this is basically just a rinse and repeat to how to carry on Rammus. Roll around the map, pop people's summoners, and then just camp them when they don't have them available. Do this enough times and you will 100% rank up if you keep playing this champion and you know what you're doing. Let's move into that mid lane now then, and in the S tier we have Swain, Vex, Diana, Zed, Victor, Echo, Akshan and Syndra. Malzahar and Ahri both move up from B to A as they're getting some buffs this week, and Veigar moves back up from C to B. Ahri is another champion who had just a fantastic season towards the start. After she got that mini rework, she was just a bit of a monster for such a long time. Those ultimate charges and resets were an absolute game changer, and she just had an incredible success rate over so many games played. Well, over recent patches, after a few too many nerfs, she did have a bit of a rough patch, and she is a little bit underplayed at the moment. But the buffs coming in this week should give her that little boost that she needed, and we still think she's a little bit better than people realise. Ahri is such a fantastic pick into so many different lanes. She's really safe, especially when she's level 6 with that ultimate. She's really hard to gank, and as long as she knows what she's doing, there's so many different ways she can outplay her enemies. Talking of outplaying their enemies though, Zed is the one to talk about next. And what a few months this champion has had. Zed is still in a fantastic spot at the moment, and it doesn't really seem to be changing anytime soon. Maybe pre-season will shake it up a bit with all those tanky items coming along. But for the next 2 weeks at least, Zed is still one you should definitely be abusing if you're good enough on him. Zed has fantastic snowball potential in the lane phase with his shadows, his burst, his shurikens, and if he does get fed, he can one-shot people without even using his ultimate. His ultimate is really what makes him so hard to beat though. If he uses it correctly, he can time it against your mobility so he can follow your flashes, he can tower dive you can get so fed off this ability, all whilst pressing it again to get back to safety without you even being able to return a kill on it. Zed is still an absolute menace at the moment in that mid lane. So if you are having some good results with him, well, here's a reminder to keep going. If you're looking for a bit of consistency though, you should pick up Viktor again. He's had probably one of the most consistent seasons out of any of the mid lane mages. He has a pretty safe lane phase with solid wave clear, good defensive abilities, and he scales into a late game machine. Viktor has incredible extended damage throughout those longer fights, but he also has insanely quick burst windows too. The Q, the auto, the E and the ultimate can one-shot a carry once you've got those upgrades and those items. And as long as you can be a bit efficient, you can get that farm, you can get those upgrades and those items, you can scale up quicker rather than later, Viktor is still a fantastic choice to play in the mid lane at all ranks. Well, let's move down to that bottom lane then. And in the S tier, we have Miss Fortune, Seraphine, Kai'Sa, Twitch, Tristana, and Samira. Yes, you heard me correctly, Samira is just winning so many games right now, and that's why she's jumped into the S tier. Samira's ability to snowball is devastating, and if she gets fed, she just jumps in with her EQ combo, pops a W so you can't retaliate, and then bursts you down with her ultimate. Then she's probably going to get those E resets, jump onto your teammates, and clean them up and kill them too. There is very little things scarier in the game right now if you don't have the comp to play against it than a fed Samira, especially if she knows what she's doing. So if you're loading into a game, the Samira's got 2 million mastery points, and she's 5-0 inside 5 minutes. Good luck. Kai'Sa is definitely the most popular AD carry in the game at the moment, and that's part of the reason why she's also in the S tier. She's so heavily prioritized, and for very good reason too. Kai'Sa is incredibly consistent, she's very safe, she has fantastic self-peel, really good damage, fantastic scaling, and she works with so many different support picks. So on the flip side to Samira, she's much more consistent. But at the same time, if you do get fed, you can still carry at almost the same pace as Samira. Kai'Sa is one of those champions that once she gets those upgraded Q and E, she becomes so hard to kill, especially alongside the mobility she gets from her ultimate, and the shield of course. So if you are looking for that really consistent, safe AD carry to play, then you should definitely consider Kai'Sa. One that is completely situational and entirely different to these two picks though is Nilah. And to be honest, she's been quite misunderstood since her release. Nilah is all about matchups and drafts. If you get the right one, you're just going to win the game, simple as that. But on the flip side, if you get a bad matchup, you're probably just going to auto lose. The fact that Nilah has no range means that she basically is a melee champion in the bot lane. And if you've ever had fun playing melee champions with your friends in the bot lane, you know that it doesn't always go too well. However, Nilah has a lot of synergies and a lot of weird things in her kit which make it more viable. She has the experience passive, which is insane getting those levels up over your opponents, but it's really the bonus healing and shielding that makes her so damn good, especially in the right matchup alongside champions like Soraka, Nami, or Seraphine. If you partner up in these lanes and you don't in pre-6, you get level 6 first and you just go for it, and 9 times out of 10 you're going to kill them, especially if they have no summoners available. The main thing you have to worry about on Nilah is missing your Q or running out of your E charges, but if you do manage to play this correctly, she's actually one of the most free win champions to play in that bot lane. She does take quite a bit of practice. You need to understand how you actually overcome those bad matchups and how you can stomp the easy ones. But once you've learned this, trust me, Nilah is a fantastic pocket pick to whip out when you have the right game for it. Finishing off with those supports then, and in the God tier we still just have Janna. In the S tier we have Maokai, Taric, Amumu, Sona, Nami, Zilean and Blitzcrank. No real changes here aside from we've added Miss Fortune in the support role in the B tier after Riot have buffed her ratios and damage quite a lot this week. They have nerfed her E slow by 10%, but aside from that, no other nerfs to AD carry Miss Fortune. Blitzcrank did get some changes and nerfs again this week for the 3rd time since his changes, but honestly this champion is just too good to remove out of the S tier at the moment. Thresh is sitting comfortably in the A tier at the moment. He's actually in the S tier for high elo though, because this is the best he's been performing for quite some time. Thresh is actually not the kind of champion you often see with a high win rate, so for him to be around these numbers means he's in a really good spot. The buffs he got just before the World Championships have definitely made him more viable again. Yes, it's genuinely the first time this season where Thresh has been in a really healthy position, and he's winning a lot more games than people may realise. Thresh just has such a creative kit, so it's all about the person who's controlling him. Obviously you've got his hook, which is probably the most recognisable part of his kit, but it's actually the other things like the lantern, the flay, and of course his ultimate that really brings it all together. Thresh is just so good at setting up ganks, he's really good at roaming, he's really good at 2v2s, there's just so much he can actually do that people don't seem to realise. And as long as you're not sitting in lane throwing out your hooks willy-nilly and missing every single one, then you're probably going to do a good job. He's definitely a bit underrated still at the moment. If you have enjoyed him in the past, here is a reminder to revisit him again. Talking of underrated though, nothing comes close to Rell. Easily one of the most underappreciated supports in the entire game. She's never really been picked or played since her release, and despite all of that, she's actually got an incredibly high win rate at the moment. Honestly, the only reason she's not higher than the A tier is just because people aren't playing her that much. She is a bit situational, you can't just blind pick her as you'll just get outranged and destroyed, but if you do manage to pick her alongside the right AD carry, you can absolutely decimate bot lanes. There's basically only one thing that Rell brings to the table, and that is her AoE crowd control. Once she's gone in and used it all, she is a bit of a sitting duck. But as long as you can get stuck in there and make it count, you're honestly going to win a lot of games on her. Also, don't forget the fact that Rell's Q actually removes shields too, which is a super underrated trait, much like Blitzcrank's ultimate. Zyra is yet another underrated champion in that support role, as we're just so fed up of talking about the S tier ones. Zyra has actually been so good for quite a while now, and she just doesn't really get played in the higher ranks much. But as you go towards those lower reloads, which is what this tier list is all about, she's actually in a really good position. If you manage to pick her alongside a real pokey AD carry like Caitlyn, it can be insanely oppressive to deal with. The plants and the traps and the burst is insane, and once you get that ultimate, you're now really hard to gank as well. Zyra definitely is a bit one-dimensional in comparison to some of the other supports in the same tier, but that just doesn't really matter when you're winning every game by stomping that bot lane. If you haven't played Zyra in a while, she could be your ticket to Diamond before the end of the season. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of our patch 12.21 tier list video for low elo. As we said before, not too many changes really for this week as Riot prepare for the chaos that preseason will bring along in just a few weeks. Don't forget to click the link in the description and check out our website and our desktop app and get stuck into all the great content we've got over there for you guys. Don't forget to keep an eye on our YouTube channel as we have loads of K'Sante content coming for you over the next few days. Thanks everyone for watching, we'll see you in the next video, and as always, take care.